Hi drivers, this is Chris.
And this is Tommy, and we're here at Sonoma Raceway.
So we're here today with this gorgeous McLaren 650S, a truly breathtaking car in so many ways. But it's not literally taking your breath away, except maybe when you write the check for it. What we're here to do today is to introduce you to something that will actually take your breath away when you drive it. And it will cost a fraction of the price of this car. Let's go see what that is.
So touching on Cristiano's earlier point, that there are machines out there which can actually take your breath away, and this is one of them. This is a fairly basic shifter kart. This is a 2008 CRG. It's got a fresh CR125 engine in there, which is out of a Honda dirt bike. 6-speed, about 35 horsepower when it's fresh. Let me take you through it. So disc brakes at all four corners. This thing really stops. You can essentially take 2 Gs in braking, 3 Gs in some of the corners if you have a decent set of tires on it. There's the exhaust. Don't want to touch it right now because we just got off the track. And the shifter. So top shift you pull back, downshift you push forward like a motorcycle. It's all sequential. There's no clutch, though hand clutch is operated only when you're starting and stopping. Other than that, you can just lift off the gas, pull back on the shifter, and you've got another gear. The gears go by pretty quickly too, so it's a physical experience. When you get out of it, it feels like you've been doing push-ups. So coming around the back, you can see we've got the rear disc brake and the seat. And the seat is made of plexiglass. It's very important. It's one of the most important parts of the kart actually, because it is what transmits all the feeling through the steering, the tires, and the asphalt through your backside up into your brain. The simplicity of this kart is one of the more endearing traits. Because of the lack of weight, the lack of amenities, you feel everything, and that's not hyperbole. You really do feel every little pebble on the road. Every time you lock up a tire, you can hear it, you can smell it, and you can feel it coming up through the seat or through the steering wheel. You can hear the tires spinning, you feel the wind rushing past your helmet, and it's quite physical as well. I mean, they're one of the more engaging machines you can buy because of the money, because of the low price that these things come at. They're hard to pass up. Fortunately, today we get to test out this pretty little machine at Sonoma Raceway's kart track, which is located just above the main track, on top of the hill, surrounded by lots of sheep. Check this out. To better illustrate how fun these go-karts can be, we've brought out a few friends of differing levels of experience, some of whom have only driven road cars, whereas others have been racers for some time. We're going to stick them in the shifter kart for a few laps and then get their impressions. Well, their blood's still pumping. Hopefully get a few laughs along the way. Stay tuned.
Fucking awesome. Holy shit. That was fucking unbelievable. It's a lot slicker than I thought, and I was too impatient to actually be more aggressive on the throttle. And so I'm going in the corners, I'm like braking too hard and sideways.
Here we are with one of our contestants today. This is Marissa Hayes. She's pretty experienced when it comes to racing. I met her 2 years ago racing road taxes, and then in 2015 she competed in the F3 series at the Sim Raceway School. She's driven quite a few things, but never been in a shifter kart before, and she was somewhat apprehensive this morning, which is to be understood. You did look nervous going out there for the first time, even though you've driven F3s, which, let's be honest, are a lot faster than these. What made you so nervous?
Yes, I'm always nervous trying out something new.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a perfectionist. I like to be the best at everything.
Aren't all racing drivers kind of like that?
Yes, exactly. So going out with quite an audience today was a little bit nerve-wracking.
Mm-hmm.
Prefer to go out and make my mistakes in private first before going out in front of people.
You did have a lot of support from the gallery, though.
Yes, there were quite a few people watching, helping out, but I was a little bit nervous my first try. I'd never driven a shifter kart, didn't really know what I was doing or what to expect. So.
How did they treat you when you spun?
They laughed a little bit, thought it was funny, but were pretty supportive.
How, if in any way possible, would you compare a shifter kart to the F3? Is there any sort of interaction with the machine that's similar?
Yeah, I definitely think the shifting is very similar. Other than that, I think the quickness of the track is very similar, and you have a lot to do in a short amount of time, moving pretty quickly. Obviously it's scaled down for the shifter kart, but just as fast and difficult to work around the track.
Is it as intense?
I would say not quite as much.
Okay.
I think coming from the Formula 3 though and stepping down to the shifter kart makes it a little bit less so. I think
Okay.
if you were to come from a road tax and step up to the shifter, I
Right.
would find it equally intense until you find another level racing at a higher speed with the Formula 3.
Okay. What made you grow more comfortable as time went on? What clicked, if you can define it?
Yeah, I do have a lot of racing experience, so once I kind of got out of my head and got used to the shifting mechanism around the track, Cristiano pointed out, not to count where you are in shifting, just count your downshifts before each corner and know how many you have to do. So once I just started doing that, I could just revert to my muscle memory of racing.
You can just feel it through the seat, right?
Exactly.
When you're in the right gear?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So if it's not as intense, could you put a percentage for our viewers who have no idea, no frame of recognition?
Yeah, I would probably say it's about 75%.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, if you're judging Formula 3 is the 100% mark
Right.
there. Definitely way more intense than road tax. So you can carry a lot more speed, go a whole lot faster, get up to speed a lot quicker coming out of the corners. So yeah, I'd say about 75%. You still get that adrenaline going. You can't breathe around the corners.
All right. Well, I think that says it all. Well, thanks for coming by for an interview.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
So I'm sitting here with Scott Meadow, who is by far the most experienced driver we've had on this episode. Scott's been all over the place and driven Formula BMWs, Formula Mazdas, even Formula 3000s last year at Abu Dhabi, so he knows what he's talking about, and we value his opinion a lot. So, seeing as you've driven so many things, I'm curious, as well as road cars too, I'm curious, in your estimation, how does a shifter kart compare to some of the quicker Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and other sports cars that you've driven in your time?
So it's really uncanny because a shifter kart is pretty much the highest performance level you can get on four wheels, without spending hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in terms of speed. I mean, you've got such quick and precise steering. The brakes really slow you down faster than pretty much anything else.
Yeah,
Compared to maybe motorcycle or Formula 1. And the G-forces you feel are phenomenal. So in terms of raw speed and precision and just the adrenaline rush that you feel in a go-kart, it's unbelievable.
How could you compare, if in any way, how could you compare a quick road car like a Ferrari 458, which I know you've driven, to something like this shifter kart? Much cheaper, much lighter, but in terms of performance, straight line speed, cornering, how can you?
So one of the things that stands out right away is in a shifter kart, for example, you know, you really accelerate quickly. I mean, you're going 0 to 60 in a little over 3 seconds, and some of these really fast sports cars today, they'll also accelerate at the same speed. And then in terms of cornering, in a go-kart, you know, just a tiny bit of steering input makes a big difference on the direction change, especially because you don't have a lot of suspension movement. And then in a road car, there tends to be a little bit of a delay. You've got more weight, typically a few thousand pounds. So as much as a sports car can give you a nice rush and excitement, especially if you're going over 100 miles an hour, a go-kart really gives you that precision and that really tight feeling with the road that you're really attacking the course.
Engagement.
Exactly.
Okay. And then, how could you compare it then to some of the lower powered Formula cars, like a Formula Honda or Formula BMW that you've driven?
Sure. So with your typical Formula car, you do have some suspension travel depending on what setup it is, but because you have such a rigid chassis, and Formula cars tend to weigh under 1,000 pounds, so roughly maybe 2 to 3 times as much as your typical go-kart, the braking is much more pronounced. The steering input is very rapid. I mean, again, you do a little bit of movement on the steering wheel in the Formula car, and it's very similar to that of your typical go-kart. And then in terms of acceleration, depending on how much power the Formula car has, it could be really similar. Really, the performance variance from shifter kart to Formula car to super high-end sports car is actually pretty similar in terms of acceleration and in terms of the performance overall.
So then if you have the straight line speed of a lot of proper racing cars, some of the agility found in those racing cars, a $5,000 price tag, and the ability to have a lot of fun, I don't see why you wouldn't want to go pick one of these up and go sharpen your racing skills tomorrow.
I would recommend for anyone that likes driving fast or wants to just improve their skills behind the wheel.
Right.
And just get some track time, for pennies compared to what it costs to, race high-end Formula cars.
Sure, there's a good reason why Formula One drivers stay fit with shifter karts.
Absolutely.
Because they're not that far from the pinnacle of racing cars.
These shifter karts are really a good comparison.
Right. Okay, well, thank you for lending us your insight. It's worth a lot of money to us. And
thank you. Happy to lend it to you.
All right. Well, talk to you soon.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
So after a long day of karting, we've come and we've sat in the club room outside of the track to discuss the all-important question, which is more rewarding? A racing car, or a go-kart in this case, something that's totally thoroughbred, useless anywhere but on a racetrack, but incredibly visceral and exciting, or a flashy hypercar. Cristiano, your take.
Well, my take is, if I thought about this quite a bit, so I think that if you can afford a supercar, you should get a kart, because you can certainly afford that as well.
Right.
And a lot of people that have supercars do not have karts, and I think they're missing on something.
I think you're right.
It's and they can totally afford it.
Right.
And if you cannot afford a supercar and maybe you're longing for a supercar, well, while you wait for your savings account to get bigger, get a kart.
Sure.
So one way or another, get a kart. And if you can afford a supercar, do that as well. They're both awesome. But a kart is probably the least expensive form of motor racing, and it's a very intense and very pure driving experience. So I would recommend it to everybody. Then, if you can afford more, get a collection of supercars. Why not?
That's true. One thing I'd like to add is, I believe that if you really truly want to improve your driving ability, it's best done on a racing track, in a racing machine, on racing tires. The demands on you are much different than even tracking a supercar, in my
Absolutely.
experience.
I agree. So if you have a supercar, like we said, but you don't have a kart, one more reason to get a kart is it'll make you a better driver also when you drive your supercar.
That's right.
And you know, how do you take the turns, brake points, and all these things. On a track, you can perfect that skill, something you cannot really do on the road, of course. But even on track days.
Even on track days, you're limited, and there's always this phantom hovering above you, reminding you just how much money you spent on your car, so you're a little less prone to drive it as hard as it perhaps could go. Whereas with a go-kart, because they're pretty inexpensive, you bang it up, you break an axle, it's not the end of the world. You just pick up another one and get going.
And the speeds and the grip levels are so that you may break an axle, but it's very safe.
It is safe.
It's much safer than a car on the track. Tracks and cars are a lot safer today than they used to be. But when you're going 130, 140 miles an hour, some mistakes can be very expensive.
That's true.
And on a go-kart track, at the end of the straight, maybe you're going 90. But if you spin in turn one, most people don't even get off the track.
That's true.
And so it's being such a safe environment, you can also explore the limits with a lot more confidence.
Right. That being said, though, it is still an occasionally scary experience, just because of how quickly you can get going and stop.
It's motorsport, so
It's always going to be a little hair-raising, yeah.
it's still motorsport.
I don't want it to sound like
you need a
it's
helmet.
diluted.
You need a helmet. It's
Right.
not.
Yeah.
Also, one thing that most people that don't drive at this level don't understand is how physical it is. Even the fastest supercar will not tax you physically. You can drive it forever. It will not take your breath away, as we started. A go-kart will take your breath away really, really quickly.
Yeah, well, I think you said it.
All right, so this is the episode for today, and we'll see you next time with some more driving experiences.
Hope you enjoyed it.